Path of Exile is an ARPG like this that was released all the way back in the Stone Ages of 2013. Once it's released, Path of Exile has steadily rose into mass popularity. Just ask the lead game designer.
Expansion before that, and then Bestiary, and then Incursion, and it just keeps climbing. The 13-week cycle is working really well. Then we released Delve, which was great, and actually down a little bit, which we're not blaming on Delve because it's probably a lack of retention during Incursion or something like that. And we were a little bit disappointed it was down. Like, this is the point where you're questioning, is this parabola finally like hit the top? But Betrayal was really, really, really big. And so when you look at it in the context of all of the Path of Exile history, you can see that we were clearly declining. There's no argument about that for the first few years, and then really clearly climbing. And so this is the brunt of what I'm now going to talk about for the rest of the talk, is what we do to actually make these.
This is partly due to various seasons, I mean leagues, which is perfect because Path of Exile's newest league, Legion, is happening right now. But, most importantly, the game is 100% free. You can quite literally play the entire game's campaign, PvP, access all the regions, and play all of the max level content. There are microtransactions, however, but they are purely cosmetic, and they do not hinder your Path of Exile experience. I am extremely new to Path of Exile, and I want to highlight what it's like being a new Path of Exile player. With all of this hype surrounding it, is it really worth getting into Path of Exile? Let's find out. Combat in Path of Exile is your basic run-of-the-mill ARPG. Hey, there's an enemy, let's click on it and kill it with XYZ ability. There are a couple buttons to click on which they are used for your abilities, Q through T, and mouse 1, 2, and 3. On top of this, you have numbers 1 through 5, which are used for your health and your mana. The game has been called very Diablo-like, and this is completely fair. I mean, the developers were highly inspired by Diablo 2. But, how does combat differ in Diablo 3 and Path of Exile? The biggest thing that I personally noticed right away is that Path of Exile is very punishing. This game is not super easy, while also being fair in its standard difficulty. Diablo 3, however, is just easy as hell. I'm no veteran to either of these games. As a matter of fact, I have less than 20 hours in Path of Exile. However, I have played Diablo 3 in the past, and every time I've played it, I've had to bump the difficulty up too hard, and even then, it is a little too forgiving. As a new player to Path of Exile, I'm okay with this. The game doesn't really hold your hand much, and you are dropped into a dark, mysterious world, which brings me to my next point. The world in Path of Exile is, at least in Act 1, very cryptic, dark, and mysterious. It makes the new player almost loathe leaving Lion's Eye, while also being really excited to adventure out. This game, for me, at least shines in a few aspects. Like caverns, or dungeons, and its open-worldly atmosphere. The dungeons are genuinely creepy. For example, Merveil's cavern is creepy as hell. You explore the cavern and see a woman back away from you, which is presumably Merveil, and then just disappearing. Then, before you enter her lair, the area you are in is just empty. There's no enemies, there's no nothing. And this is very nerve-wracking to say the least, and here's why. This game doesn't give you much downtime. You will get swarmed and swarmed by enemies. And when there are no enemies around, it can be a cause of concern. It makes the boss fight with Merveil even more worrisome, and let me say it was not the easiest boss fight. But what is great about Path of Exile is that it keeps surprising you. Now for the story, however, I'm going to be completely honest, I have no fucking clue what's going on. I'm a little lost in its lore. Maybe I just need to pay more attention, but whenever you do quests, everything feels a lot more localized. You're not doing this quest for a greater good of the world. You're doing more simpler things, like getting medicine chests to help a village or kill an evil squid lady. I am also okay with this, because the game doesn't just stuff your face full of a bunch of lore. It's much more concerned about the world around you, and the characters it introduces, instead of telling you a bunch of dialogue of this thing way over here on this continent with these people 1,000 years ago and blah blah blah. Now, the mechanics of this game is where Path of Exile starts to get a little more complicated. The mechanics of this game are quite complicated. There are gems in the game that do various things. You put these gems into sockets that are on your weapons and armor. But what is a link? Why are my gems not working with my crude bow? What the fuck is a support gem? What do these different colors mean? See, gems are a little complex, but this is just the beginning. See, Path of Exile has a very interesting economy. Essentially, there's not really a coin or currency type system. Path of Exile's economy seems to be based around just trade. So, you have this item that can be traded for something that someone else is selling. But if you stack so many of these items on top of each other, it becomes another item that can be used to do something to your equipment. Or it can be used to be traded for something else. You see, this can be a lot for a new player. Also, the wording on certain items can be very confusing at first glance. So luckily the Lords of Lazy Critical Thinking have blessed us with the Path of Exile wiki. But seriously, this wiki so far has already helped a lot, and I definitely recommend it. But this is just the beginning.
Fucking normies!
This skill tree is fucking enormous. What the actual fuck? This skill tree has made me absolutely terrified of fucking dots. This makes Tryptophobia look like a noodle-armed little bitch. Let's spend a couple hundred hours playing the world's longest game of connect the fucking dots. Hey look, plus 10 dexterity for the 12th time. Hey look, my stats read 32 strength, 32 mana, and 5,476 dexterity. Come get me now, you damn dirty, bloody apes. But in all seriousness, the passive skill tree is much less complicated than it seems. In summary, everyone has the same skill tree. The only difference is where you are placed on the tree. The tree allows you, as the player, to make whatever character you want. If you want to make a magic tank, then you can, but you just have to work for it. In conclusion, Path of Exile is a fantastic game that does not disappoint, and it continues to surprise me more and more. I highly recommend Path of Exile to any gamer who's looking for something a little more refreshing. The complexity of the game can turn new players off, and I totally get that. But if you can look past that, or if that's your thing, then Path of Exile is the perfect game for you.